Hello and thanks for watching Best Maths Tutors. I'm continuing to go through the Edexcel A level paper 1 from 2018, and this is question 8, and I'll be covering all the questions. So if you find this helpful, please subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up on this video. So question 8 is a question which involves trigonometry, and we're trying to model the depth of water in a harbour on a particular day, and the depth is given by this formula. So 5 plus 2 sine 30 times the time in hours after midnight. So we're told that a boat is going to enter the harbour at 6:30 a.m. and take 2 hours to load its cargo. And the boat requires a depth of at least 3.8 metres before it can leave the harbour. So initially what we've got to do is find the depth of water in the harbour when the boat enters the harbour. So that's just a fairly straightforward matter of substituting into this formula. So for part A, we're going to substitute in this 6:30 a.m. But what we've got to do is realise that, so we've got 6:30 a.m. But in terms of hours after midnight, then that's actually 6.5 hours. And that would be a very easy mistake to make, I think. So we can say then, using that figure, the depth is going to be 5 plus 2 sine the 30 times 6.5 for the hours. So just tap that straight into the calculator. So we've got making sure we're in degrees mode there. If we weren't in degrees, all we need to do is we need to go shift setup. We can see we've got a menu there. We're going to pick the angle unit, given 3 options there, and we'd pick number 1, which would put us in degrees if we'd been doing calculations in radians, for example, beforehand. So now I'm just going to type all this in. 5 plus 2 times sine 30 times 6.5, and so that gives us the depth of water in the harbour when the boat enters it, so 4.48 metres. That's part A done. Part B, got to find the time to the nearest minute, the earliest time the boat can leave the harbour. So since we told the boat's entering the harbour at this time, 6:30, and it's going to take 2 hours to load its cargo, then we're looking for a time after, so the first time actually after 8:30 a.m. because of the 2 hours it's going to take to load. So it's going to be the first time, I should say, first time after 8:30 a.m. that the depth of water is greater than 3.8 meters. So it's got to be the depth. It's got to be greater than 3.8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into my equation, and I'm actually going to create an inequality. So I'm going to use this symbol here, the inequality symbol. And so I'm going to say that 5 plus 2 sine 30t has got to be greater than 3.8. And so I'm going to rearrange that a little bit. So I'm going to take away 5 from both sides. So 2 sine 30t is going to be greater than the 3.8 take away 5, which is minus 1.2. And so if we divide by 2, then we'll get that sine 30t must be greater than minus 0.6 if we divide by 2. In order to solve this inequality, we need to first of all find the values of 30t which would make this equal to minus 0.6. So in other words, we need to look at where does 30t equal sine minus 1 of the minus 0.6. So we're going to look at the sine graph. And if we get our calculator up, then I'm going to find the inverse sine of this function, of this value. So I'm going to go shift sine and then minus 0.6. So we get this minus 36.8699 if I round it up. So minus 36.8699. And we're now just going to look at a sine graph for to see what this means, where it is. So if we just draw a set of axes, then we know a sine graph has a shape like this for positive angles. And we also know that when we go into the negative, it will continue, it will repeat. And what our calculators have done is given us this value, here's minus 0.6, and the calculator has given us the value that's closest to 0. So this point here is our minus 36.8699. That's our point there. And if we project across here, we've got another point, and these are the points we're interested in really, because when it's a negative value, that's actually a time that was before midnight. So this value here, since this is 180 degrees, this point here is the 180 plus 36. I'll just call it 87 for the moment, just so I'm not writing too many decimal points. And if we continue to project across, we can see we've got another solution, which is, since this value where it crosses the axis is 360, this point here would be 360 minus the 36.887. So if we're considering where do we solve this inequality, then we've actually got that sine 30t is greater than the minus 0.6 in this region here. So between the minus 3.8699 and up to the 180 plus that value. And then it's also greater than the minus 0.6 after this point here. So from here onwards, in fact, up until, if we continued the graph, so it would be up until this next point here. So we need to find out what these values are then, this one and this one, to see which is the appropriate answer that's going to be after 8:30. We're just going to get the calculator up and we're going to work out the time. So time is going to equal this value for this point here, 180 plus the 36 point, I'll just write all the decimal places there, over 30 will give me the time there, and the one after would be 360 minus the 36.8699 over 30. So we'll have a look at them and we'll see what times we're actually really talking about. So we'll put them in using the fraction button. 180 plus 36.8699 over 30. So that gives me 7:23, or 7.23 actually, hours after midnight. Now we know that's too early, don't we? Because that's before the 8:30. So that's before 8:30 a.m. So if we're looking at the next one, we're going to just put that in the calculator again. So we're now going to just use the replay button. Just save me typing stuff in again. So it's going to be 360 minus that, and still over 30, and we get 10.771. Okay, so 10.771 hours after midnight, which is, that's okay because it's after 8:30 a.m. Right, so it's after 8:30 a.m. So that's great. So we can see, looking at the graph, what that means is the first time after 8:30 that we got a depth in our harbour greater than the one required was at this point, so at 10.771 hours. And all we need to do is convert the decimal part of that, the 0.771 hours, into minutes, because we're required to give it in hours and minutes. And so to do that, I'm just going to times that figure by 60. So let me just take away 10 from that, and that just leaves me with a bit after the decimal point. I'm going to times that by 60, and I've got 46.26. And because I want it to the nearest minute, that's going to be 46 minutes. And we're very nearly there now. So, in fact, that means that the earliest time that we can leave is going to be 10:46 a.m. So I hope that's been helpful to you, and if it has, please consider subscribing to our channel to watch more of our videos, and also hit the thumbs up button to like our video. Thanks for watching.